salespeople are not born, it's a learned skill. I think a lot of times when people see a salesperson, they think I can never be that way, but it's just a series of skills that I've honed over the last 30 years, right? So I didn't know that when I was doing it, but now I look back, it was just all the tapes I listened to and all the stuff I put myself in front of, right? Because my brain was geared that way. But if you want to be a salesperson, you can learn the skills to do it, and you don't have to be super flamboyant like me.
I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at HumbleZone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that'll reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Thank you for tuning in to Hacks and Hobbies with your host, Junaid. We're visited by our amazing guests coming from all walks of life who want to learn their story, their struggles, and their journey on how they got to where they are today. So stick around.
In this episode, we sit down with Phil Harrington, the credit card guy, as he takes us on a journey through his entrepreneurial career. Phil shares his experience selling candy bars as a teenager and how it sparked his passion for sales. From telemarketing to selling cars, Phil eventually found his niche in the credit card processing industry. Discover the power of cold calling, the importance of follow-up, and the secrets to success in sales. Whether you're a seasoned salesperson or just starting your entrepreneurial journey, this episode offers valuable insights and strategies that can transform your approach to selling. Tune in now and gain the knowledge to master the art of cold calling.
Today we get to speak with Phil Harrington, the credit card guy. Hey Phil, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, it's totally a lot of fun. We got to chat a few weeks ago. This was after TNC and some really fun times over at TNC, and I got to meet you there as well. Thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast. Where I'd like to start is taking a walk through the memory lane, rediscover your origin story. And I know, and the journey is long. We go through so many different stories. So let's start at the beginning, wherever you think would be the most appropriate.
I would say, I've always said I've been in sales my whole life. I sold candy bars. If you guys remember World's Finest Chocolate, I sold those. You name it along the way, I've sold it. When schools would come out with programs and I'm like, hey, I want to go win a bike or I'm going to go win a backpack or whatever, I was way into all that stuff. First actual sales job would probably be MCI, long distance service. I sold, I was at telemarketer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I got some good telemarketing skills through that process, sold cars for a while. Then I started evaluating, where do I want to end up? What kind of people do I want to talk to? And I didn't like the whole weekends and bell to bell with car sales. And then the telemarketing was always at night. And I tried all those MLMs and they're always nights and weekends also. So I ended up on business sales. So I tried Sprint long distance service for a while and we were selling only to business customers. So that was good because again, I like the whole 9 to 5 thing, have my weekends off. And then I ran across a friend that was in the merchant service business, credit card processing. And this is way back in early 2000s, late 90s. And I was in Wichita, Kansas at the time. And he's like, you got to come learn about this credit card processing thing. And I'm like, all right, let's go. So he took me around and on some of his appointments and things of that nature. And I was like, this is a neat business. It checks all the boxes for me, right? I can work
Mhm.
9 to 5. I can work with business owners. And there's a lot of good money to be made in it with the residual income and what have you. So I did that for about 12 years. And that was the traditional way of doing credit card processing. And then got burned out because around when the 2008 debacle happened, we'll call it that, about 2011 is when it hit us as merchant processors, and businesses are trying to find ways to save money. So
Mm.
they're starting to switch away in droves. And then the industry kind of flip-flopped. They were no longer selling credit card machines. They were giving them away and only paying the
Interesting.
sales
Yeah.
reps. They're just paying the sales reps $200 up front. And then we had to really cut our margins. So we're also not making very much residual. So I stepped away from the business for probably 7 years, 7 or 8 years. I recently came across it again with the payment experts. In the meantime, I was just selling some stuff on eBay there. I wasn't really focused on a certain, but this is what I loved when I saw this again, the way they're doing it now with the service fee processing. I was just like, oh, this is like putting on an old shoe that I liked. It was like, this is amazing. I'm going to jump back into this industry. Yeah. So that kind of is a shortened version of the things that I've been through.
Sure. And through that journey, what was the most fascinating thing that kept you going to say, in the credit cards processing space?
I really loved the cold call. Back then, I didn't know anything about networking. I didn't know anything about, it was just like go to a small town, walk down the main street. I love convincing that merchant to give me their statements and to get them switched over. The
Sure.
close of the deal was fun for me. And so it helped merchants too, because we're always taking them away from banks and helping them tremendously because they're always getting way overcharged. But yeah, I really enjoyed the cold call.
That is something that I have never heard before. I enjoy the cold call. Give me any number. I'm just going to call them up and talk them up.
That's
I
right.
mean,
That's
that's
right.
definitely a skill that I have not mastered, or even I did some cold calls back in the days where I would call and ask them if they want to continue the subscription or get a free catalog. And I was like, what am I doing? This is really interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely, I would say it takes a different type of personality, takes
Yeah.
a certain type of personality, but I get more and more energy as I go. So I'm very much a people person. So you saying no to me doesn't matter because I have this goal of handing out 30 cards that day. So
Okay.
I'm just knowing your numbers is so important. Like even remember, and this was what 25 years ago, I still
Hmm.
remember the numbers 20 years ago. You did 30 cold calls, you got 5 appointments, and you closed 1 to 2 deals. So
Wow.
when you knew that, and then you could say, okay, I make this much money on a deal and I divide that by 30, then I'm like, I'm making $100 per door, just
Mm.
handing that card. So changing that mindset made it easy. So I was like, how many $100 bills I'm going to hand out today? As opposed to
Yeah,
how am I going to get rejected? And you go into a whole thing.
that is really powerful. Wow, I didn't think of it from that perspective, because not only are you giving them an opportunity,
Mhm.
but then they also have an opportunity to say yes or no. That's a 50-50% chance. But that
Yep.
towards the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I handed out this many $100 bills, and because of that, I feel good.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's exciting. And if I would have coupled that with networking and knew about that and follow up, I did no follow up. If I would have had any of those two things, man, it would have blown
Yeah.
up.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Follow up is where the butter churns, right? The more follow ups you do, the better chances you have of them remembering who you are, and
True.
coming back and be like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and about follow up, it takes 5 to 12 follow ups to get 80% of your sales. That's where 80% of it happens. So most salespeople don't follow up even the first time because they don't know what to
Mm.
say. So
Yeah.
having a simple script and knowing what to say and practicing that on friends and family, so you know what you're going to say on the phone,
Hmm.
that's important. Or as I say, if you don't have the friends and family, get like a script and then just go to some doors you're going to get turned down so you can just practice your verbiage and just get yourself in that flow. But
I love that. I think there's a huge message there, which is all about, hey, you've got to practice your metal. You got to put in the reps, right? It's if it's sales, if it's cycling, if it's running, if it's beekeeping, whatever it is, you got to put in the reps. How many podcast episodes have you done? Not that much, but I really want a top podcast. You got to put in the bad episodes. You got to put in the reps. So I really like that philosophy going into cold calling, because totally makes sense. And I've been scared for so long. Oh my God, I don't know if these people want my help, or if they're going to buy what I'm selling, because I'm scared of that rejection.
Yeah. And it's a lost art now, because people want to buy lists and they want to join programs and they want to be in a certain Facebook group and they want some sort of commonality, right? Before they'll ever reach out to you. But so the cold call is really dying off. But it's crazy how many people are sitting out there that need your service and you can't service them because you never called them.
So true. All right. That was really powerful. Man, I'm going to be buzzing on that for a minute. For sure.
Another thing I would say to the listeners there is, think about all the customers you currently have. A lot of us are sitting on 200, 1,000 customers, depending on how long we've been in business. Just go back to them and ask for a referral. Just call them and say, hey, how's business? How can I help? Have a true helping spirit, and then ask for a referral. So there's money just sitting right there in your CRM.
My God, you're so right. I'm thinking about all the calls that I could be making, or all the messages that I can be sending. Like, hey, I love your studio. I love the message that you shared. How about, sorry, I'm just
no
in
problem.
my thought. So no, that's really inspirational. Now, when you're selling candy, the world's famous candy in the beginning, what inspired you to even start doing that at such a young age?
I don't know. I think I just really loved, I remember being in school and I would go to the Sam's Club and buy those 18 things of chocolate. And I had it all figured out. I don't know, say I was 17 cents a bar, and then I would sell them for 50 cents. Just making that little bit of money was exciting, right? So just whether it was a prize or just turning $10 into $15 or $10 into $20, there was just something about it that was exciting. And it's always just followed along that trail. Oh, how can I turn this into something else?
No, that's really good. And that's the creativity that you bring, right? It's a creative process. It's not something that anybody can pick up. And sure, in the beginning, a lot of people have the similar concept, right? My son recently had a event at his school, and he said, I'm going to make airplanes of paper and sell them for $1. And then a lot of times we would be like, no, nobody's going to buy that. But then he's like, they will. And then guess what? People did buy those airplanes for $1. I'm like, wow, that's something else.
And probably because he's a little kid and they want to support him. So utilize that.
Exactly. That's amazing. Okay. So as you're turning you're doubling your money, you're doubling that aspect, I'm trying to find, yes, you did that, but I'm sure there was some kind of encouragement and support from people around you. It might have been your parents, it might have been your uncle, it might have been your cousin. What was that like?
Yeah, so my mom was always very entrepreneurial. She had 3 or 4 businesses. Now, she would have them and they would fail and stuff like that, but she always seemed to have that entrepreneurial spirit where she always wanted more, right? She wanted more out of life. So I guess maybe there, and then just, I don't know. I just remember my dream was always to have $1 million even when I was 8 years old. And I was like, how am I going to get there? And I knew it was just go. I wish I would have known what to focus on or how to align myself and all the things that I know now. But yeah, it's always just been that. I'm like, how do I get to that $1 million? Because I really want that financial freedom to go do other things. So,
no, 100%. And I think when you mentioned your mom was entrepreneurial, serial entrepreneur, she would start business. And that's where you get that. Because remember, when we are young, I have 4 kids. My youngest is 5 months old. When they're learning from their environments. So you learn from your environment. Oh my God, this is what my mom's doing. This is what she's always talking about, this thing. So I'm sure there's something there. So that's what you picked up. Okay, I can go turn this $10 into $20. And guess what?
Exactly.
Tomorrow I can turn it into $40. And boom, there you have it.
I think I saw too that there was no cap, right? Whenever you get a
Mhm.
job, there's a salary or an hourly rate. And I
Yeah.
was always trading time for money, right? And I was
Yes.
like, there's got to be a better way. And even back then,
Mm,
I couldn't articulate it, but I knew that I wanted that unlimitedness. I wanted that
right. Scalability. Yeah.
scalability. Yeah. So, like when I got in the credit card business, that's the first time I learned about residual income. And I was like, oh, this is cool. You
Yeah.
work one time and then you keep getting paid. I'm going
Yeah.
to make sure I always do something in that realm,
Yeah.
which is where the MLMs come in and all that
Hmm.
stuff and all the promise of one day you won't have to work so hard.
Right.
So I think a lot of us are interested in that.
They are. And then the one thing that they don't tell you is that you got to work your butt off to climb that
Hmm.
mountain. You got to have 30, 40 calls a day, right? To make
Hmm.
sure that you're reaching that goal. And that's how everybody makes it to the top. Like we are in season 5 right now. I've finished recording 500 episodes towards the end of 2022. And I was like, oh my God, how did I get here? It's because you keep on putting the
One at a
content, you
time.
keep on one at a time. Exactly
Yeah.
right. One at a time. So thank you so much. All right. Let's take a quick break. We've learned a lot from you. Thank you so much, Phil. The inspiration, the motivation, and the insights looking into what really made you tick, what really inspired you to keep going. I think that those were some really cool lessons. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. I'm Junaid Ahmed, host of Hacks and Hobbies podcast and a digital presence advisor at HumbleZone. This episode is brought to you by Home Studio Mastery. I launched a consultation and course program to help podcasters and course creators to create a space in their homes that'll reduce the friction of creating content and appearing their best when showing up on camera. The pandemic gave us a lot of issues, but this one is here to stay. We're now so much closer to our audience thanks to video becoming more popular and affordable. I help guide folks who want to create Hollywood-worthy studios to not only capture great content, but also build more confidence, more authority, and be more comfortable in front of the camera. If I can do it, you can too. And with my help, you can do it faster. So if you'd like to learn more, visit homestudiomastery.com and how you too can create a home studio that brings out your personality, professionalism, and possibilities. Welcome back, guys. This is Junaid talking to you here on Hacks and Hobbies, and we've been talking with Phil Harrington. Phil has been generous enough with his time to share his story, share what inspired him to be here, and he's known as the credit card guy. He's been in this merchant processing business for over 20 plus years, or maybe 30 years. I can't remember. Phil's got some hacks for you to take away. So Phil,
I love
share
it. Yeah,
more.
I wanted to give something good here, so I made sure I wrote this down. So I would say, first off, salespeople are not born, it's a learned skill. I think a lot of times when people see a salesperson, they think, I can never be that way,
Mm,
but it's just a series of skills that I've honed over the last 30 years. So I didn't know that when I was doing it, but now I look
mm,
back, it was just all the tapes I listened to and all the stuff I put myself in front of, right? Because my brain was
yeah.
geared that way. But if you want to be a salesperson, you can learn the skills to do it, and you don't have to be super flamboyant like me.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I would say is nowadays, automate your follow-up. They always say the fortune's in the follow-up. You got to do 5 to 12 contacts to get 80% of your sales. One time I followed up with a guy 17 times and
Wow.
to get the deal, and he thanked me because he was just busy. But if we
Mm,
automate that, then we can set that automation and move on. Even it's as simple as a monthly newsletter. Be in front of your customer. So
yeah.
that if I did that back in the day, I'd be in the Bahamas somewhere, right?
Yeah. You would have made that
um,
million.
and like you were talking about earlier, I would say the third one would be consistency. And I think that we as entrepreneurs, we have all this energy and we want to show up and give our A game, and everybody talks about the A game, right? but
Yeah.
a B- work is better than no work at all. So if you don't
Amen.
have it all in you today, just do something to move the needle forward, because you'll thank yourself tomorrow. Even if today you're like, I'm just going to at least send out 10 emails to people or make 10 contacts through Facebook or whatever. At least I did something to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's number 3?
That was number 3. Sorry, I
Oh, that
apologize.
was
The
number 3.
consistency was 3, and then the automation, the follow-up was number 2.
All right.
And
Yeah.
then
No, you're
just
absolutely right.
teach yourself the skills to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
There's plenty of trainings out there that are awesome, but don't be afraid of it. If you were to dive into anything, I would say dive into follow-up, because making contacts is usually not such a big deal. We meet people all the time. It's following up with them. Just like if you want to get a date, right? You would keep following up with a gal until you got her.
You got that right. Holy smokes. And kids are the best follow-uppers, right? If you tell them
Right.
something
Yep.
that they're gonna get, guess what? They're gonna be pestering you all day long, every single day. Dad, where's that toy that you promised me? Where's that
You said we're
thing
going
that you
here. You said we're going here. Yep, exactly. I have 5
exactly?
kids myself. I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, so it's insane. And there's a huge lesson to learn from that, right? There's a huge lesson that we can apply in our daily lives to follow up and reach out, because that's how you build that relationship. That's how you continue to grow your
Amen.
business.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good stuff.
Awesome, man. All right, let's jump into our rapid fire question that I called quick flash. I can't
I'm
remember.
ready.
Trying to figure out the name for this thing. All right. Number 1, what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
Hunting. I wish I would have got into
Hunting.
the hunting side of thing. I don't do any of that. So I
Okay.
think that'd have been cool to learn any of that, duck hunting or any of those things. But now that I'm doing some of it, it's really relaxing to get out there in the wilderness and stuff like that. But I wish I'd have taken on one of those.
Nice. I like that. Number 2, what did you want to be when you were a child?
I wanted to be a millionaire.
There
I
you
was
go.
like, I want to do these things that those guys are doing and not have to work so hard. But I didn't realize that there was a lot of work involved. So
Mhm.
but yeah, that's what I wanted to do, is do that.
I have a question for you. Do you have a date set on your calendar when you're going to be a millionaire?
Ooh, that's a good question. I do not. I do write down my goals every day, but a date associated to it, I do not. This is
Because
something I'm gonna take away.
I think Jim Carrey did the same thing. He wrote a check to himself for $10 million.
And I heard about that.
And then
Yeah.
he was able to cash that check because he got to that 10 million mark. So when you have those dates written down, those numbers written down, guess what our brain is doing? It's reverse engineering how to get to that level. And over time, you finally get to it. So once you have a date set, you have a goal set, your mind's good, that's the goal. And then you make a plan and you follow those plans and you're able to get there. And I think you're right. You're right now in the right spot. The credit card guy. Did you know some stats on credit card spending on a yearly basis? I think about $46 trillion is processed.
Wow, that's crazy.
Through Visa, MasterCard, and other credit cards every year.
Wow, that's crazy. I just want a small piece of that.
just a tiny little sliver. I would recommend write the date down. This is when I'm going to be a millionaire.
That's good. I'm going to write that down.
Awesome. Next question. What is your favorite movie or TV show?
The Office. It cracks me up every time. I can now play it in the background and just start laughing before even the stuff happens.
Because you know what's coming. Exactly. Your mind's already reverse engineered. Okay, this happens before this thing happens. I think my favorite scene was when John dresses up like Dwight. He shows up.
Oh, yeah. And his yellow shirt.
Yeah, the yellow shirt, the glasses, and the mustache. No, there was no mustache.
No, it was a pin, his pocket protector.
The pin, that's right, the pocket.
And he was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I don't know." And he had a little watch. That's right. It was the watch too.
Awesome.
Oh, it was awesome.
It was so good. All right, next question. What movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Oh, shoot. You got me. I don't know. I like those movies like, say, Coach Carter, or those that are inspirational. So I
Yeah.
would say probably the guy that, helped somebody do the inspirational thing that they didn't think they could do.
Nice. That's a good
I
way to
don't,
put it.
yeah, I don't necessarily have a one picked out, but being that
Mm,
person that said, you can do this, come on.
yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Next question. Who is your favorite superhero?
It's always been Green Lantern.
Okay.
So much
I like
that
him.
Kyle Rayner is the original Green Lantern, and that's my
Mhm.
son's middle name.
Nice. That is powerful. That is powerful. All right. Last question. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Oh, I'd be Monopoly.
Monopoly all day long.
Right? I
Awesome.
played that so many times.
Yeah.
I got that memorized too.
I love it, man. I love this. Thank you so much. Where can my entrepreneur friends find you?
Yeah, just come to thepaymentexperts.com, and we say stop paying to get paid. If you don't want to pay merchant service fees, come check us out. We'd be happy to show you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Phil. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you for listening to this Hacks and Hobbies episode. Junaid would love to hear from you, so please leave a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. Visit hacksandhobbies.com to find additional information on the guest today, as well as the show notes.